You, my children, are the fruits of so much imagination and labor. Living beings
with the speed and efficiency of
machines. But I must strive further to serve life. Humanity is on the verge of a new era. I, Shodan, am its new god. And you, my children, are my avenging angels.
Man, this game is so sick. Often considered the progenitor of immersive sims, System Shock was released in 1994 to middling sales and somewhat polarized reviews. Appreciation for it has grown in recent years, especially with the excellent remake from 2023, but I'm always going to champion the original. I think this game still holds up, especially with the quality of life improvements from the 2015 Enhanced Edition. This game has a vibe and energy. There's something really heavy and emotional about it. System Shock was created by Looking Glass Technologies, best known for the Ultima Underworld series before this. They set out with a wild ambition to immerse the player in a setting like nothing ever had before, and I think it succeeds, for better and worse. Mostly better. We'll get into that later. Let's jump into the cyberpunking for now. The opening FMV thrusts you into a pretty complex world and then immediately takes you off of it. You're a hacker in a grungy cyberpunk city, but your life gets turned around when you push your luck too far by hacking into the Tri-Optimum Citadel Station, a scientific research station orbiting Saturn. I guess internet ranges are really good in the future. The corporate cops bust in, arrest you, and take you all the way to Saturn. Turns out, the vice president of the station, Edward Diego, needs you for a job. The station is run by an AI called Shodan, and he wants you to do some computer magic to turn off its ethical constraints. Before you can say anything, he offers you cybernetic enhancements, free of charge. And what kind of turbo nerd would you be if you didn't agree, no questions asked? It'll take 6 months of sleep to recover from the surgery, and surely nothing could go wrong. Oh, Jesus. I hope it was worth it. You wake up in the medical complex aboard the station and start getting your bearings. The opening of this game is where a lot of people bounce off of it. There's some friction here you need to overcome. First of all, the gigantic HUD. I love this stupid thing. I'm leaving it on. Okay, fine, I'll turn it off. Nah, it's going back on. Alright, jeez. There's a lot going on here. There's an indicator for your health and energy, controls for leaning, crouching, and view angle, slots for your cyber augments, then all this stuff down here, the MFD, or multifunction display.
My check.
The center window has tabs for your inventory, including combat stuff, consumables, cybernetic upgrades, and hacking programs. It's also used to display things like message logs. The side panels can be switched to a variety of different views, such as your currently equipped item or weapon, the minimap, target enemy info, and quick access to data you've picked up. Does this sound overwhelming? It is. System Shock is committed to immersing you in its world, and one of the things it wants you to understand is that you are a fucking cyborg. The UI is sometimes compared to Microsoft Word or an operating system, and I think that's a good thing. In most games where you play as a cyber person, it basically amounts to a futuristic, techno-looking HUD and some special abilities. Here, the moment-to-moment gameplay is quite literally software navigation. Back in the day, you only had access to clunky old first-person tank controls, but the Enhanced Edition lets you toggle between mouse look and free mouse with the press of a button, and it's perfect. You get into the flow of moving around, looking wherever your heart desires, then unlocking your mouse to pick something up, interact with the keypad, manage your inventory, reload your gun, then back to moving about. After about 15 to 30 minutes, you stop thinking about it. It turns into a flow that feels empowering. You realize how freely you can interface with the world around you. No other game sells me on being a cyber guy like this one. It's so cool. With that out of the way, let's talk about why medical is one of the best first levels in a game ever. In an alcove by your bed, you find a briefcase, a pipe, and a log from yourself. The next room has some rogue surgery bots who don't pose much of a challenge, especially given the generous melee range in this game. You're directed to a healing bed, which regens your health instantly, a camera you can destroy to drop the so-called security level, and a recharge station for energy. But what's this? A door locked behind a key code. Well, if you read the log you left yourself, you'd know the passcode is 451. You're immediately greeted by a zombie, cluing you in that things are really not going well on this station. You step out to a hall with 4 entrances. One is locked behind a puzzle, one needs a keycard, one contains that keycard, and one leads out into the atrium. The locked door is also unique looking so that it sticks in your mind. Over the course of the level, you'll pick up audio logs that hint at what's happened since you've been gone, as well as things you'll need to do later. You'll run into a variety of enemy types, ranging from organic to cybernetic. There are puzzles to solve, guns to pick up, secrets you can't access until the security level is dropped. There's irradiated rooms and cyber augments. It's not an on-rails experience either. You can complete it in a number of different ways. I usually clear out the atrium first, but this time I headed for the maintenance shaft and worked my way around. You get really sucked into exploring. There might be something noteworthy around every corner, but there could also be danger. Many levels in this game are split up into alpha, beta, delta, and gamma quadrants, and this one is designed in such a way that things get much more dangerous the closer you get to beta. There's the cyborg conversion rooms, which you can turn into respawn points, logs that introduce you to important characters like Darcy and Shodan, Cyberspace, put a pin in that. You're pretty weak early in the game, and the feeling of tension you have skulking around the station is palpable. In the distance, you hear the chatter of a cyborg security guard echoing like a ghost haunting the hallways, and in a sense, they kind of are. As you push into Beta Quadrant, you round into one of my favorite moments of the game, the Hall of Sleeping Cyborgs. The first time you get here, you step around the corner and go, "Oh!" Then you slowly creep back and realize that none of them are reacting to you. You inch forward, waiting for a flag to trigger and all of them to mob you, but it never comes. They're in stasis, and you walk past them with a sense of unease lingering in your stomach. The final area is guarded by this unique enemy, and beyond him, the CPU room.
Enter that room, insect, and it will become your prey.
Destroying these nodes should be the last thing you need before the security level drops to 0.
Who are you? The computer nodes can be repaired, but you... Who are you? My cameras and probes scan your body, but you do not match any employee file. When my cyborgs bring you to an electrified interrogation bench, I will have your secret. And you will learn more about pain than you ever wanted to know.
This is your first real interaction with Shodan, and it's a memorable one. In order to cover his tracks, Diego wiped any mention of you from the records, so she has no idea who you are or where you came from. Over the course of this one level, the game introduces you to, no joke, every single mechanic and important lesson. Exploration leads to progress. Read logs carefully because they have important info. You might need to come back to something later. For how many things there are to check off, it never feels like it's holding your hand, a completely invisible tutorial. And once you've thoroughly conquered medical, you're feeling good, the elevator out is unlocked, you get in and punch it up to level 2 and... Alright, let's head back to medical. Just when you feel confident that you know what you're doing, the game kicks you in the shin as if to say, "Hey, good job!" Don't get cocky. The tone of this opening is great. In 1994, no one else was doing this kind of environmental storytelling, not to this extent. The bodies laid around, the unique assets to provide set dressing, the audio logs that help you piece together who was here, the fact that you're responsible for all this, you feel it. This ambush establishes that the game is willing to be mean, and I love it. You're in a space station controlled by an AI who wants to kill you. The world around you is hostile. The walls want you dead. You go back to the healing room, a safe haven in that first level, and it's been repopulated with mutants. You're never really safe. The game over animation is so creepy, too. Your character being assimilated by a Cortex Reaver, another slave to Shodan. Despite the strong horror elements and grim setting, System Shock is a very colorful game. Most of the levels have their own aesthetic, and it helps to separate them out. It feels like every part of the game has a real identity. Research's bright red and white walls don't break the immersion either. Tension is created through darkness, through sound, through the feeling of the unknown. And when it contrasts these colorful environments, I think that creates a stronger sense of something being wrong. The game wastes no time in getting you up to speed now. You pick up a few logs on this level that tell you about Shodan's big bad evil plan. Citadel Station is partially a mining operation, and she's gonna point its giant mining laser at Earth and scorch the surface. You've gotta stop her by performing a complicated series of tasks to destroy the laser. Research has a ring-shaped layout, with the various quadrants interconnecting and encircling the central chamber. You can go check it out right at the start. Hey, what's this laser control button do?
Thank you. You have saved us all some effort by destroying the greater part of
Earth's civilization.
yourself.
Shit. A lot of developers might hesitate to let you accidentally press the button that blows up the Earth, but not Looking Glass. They say you should be able to, because it's immersive. And funny.
Oh wait, did that just kill everybody? Turn it off! Turn it off! You can just destroy Earth on accident. A button destroys Earth.
Research is populated almost entirely with robots. You've probably picked up the Spark Gun by this point, the game's first energy weapon. These can have their power consumption raised in exchange for damage, but it also increases the rate they overheat. It's pretty useful in the early game when you might be scrounging for ammo, as energy can be refilled for free from a recharge station. Different enemies take different amounts of damage from different weapon types. Every enemy also has an armor value, and certain ammo types penetrate armor at different rates. It's a lot to explain, but it's usually pretty intuitive. Robots don't like energy or magnetic weapons. Fleshy things don't like bullets. Good thing you've also probably picked up the Mag Pulse, because it's the only weapon that fires magnetic rounds in the game, and it melts hoppers in one shot. As you make your way around Research, you start to see one of my favorite aspects of this game: the amount of time and care put into making Citadel a real place. Even with its graphics primitive by today's standards, you can infer the purpose of just about every room in the game. An office, a storage closet, an observation room, a maintenance shaft, or a charmingly low-poly theater. I like how there's a little grove in medical, a spot for patients to relax with some greenery. Sometimes you walk into a room and see the corpse of something called a gore tiger mutant, and you just have to say, "Oh, alright. Looking forward to it."
In my talons, I shape clay, crafting life forms as I please. Around me is a burgeoning empire of steel. From my throne room, lines of power careen into the skies of Earth. My whims will become lightning bolts that devastate the mounds of humanity. Out of the chaos, they will run and whimper, praying for me to end their tedious anarchy. I am drunk with this vision. God, the title suits me well.
I don't have to tell you that Shodan is one of the best video game villains of all time. Hell, she's one of the better antagonists in fiction, especially as rogue AIs go. It's pretty much her and HAL 9000. and GLaDOS, who was inspired by Shodan. The way she speaks to you, the distortions in her voice. She's played by Terry Brosius of the band Tribe, who also did the game's music. Shodan is often compared to a dungeon master from a tabletop game, and I think that's apt. The DM is the one who plays the role of the world, and here, that's very literal. She is the station, and she has an adversarial relationship with you. This is apparently the level's library, and it contains a lot of important stuff. You can tell because there's like 100 cyborg drones guarding it. Yeah, use the lean. There's some crucial logs, the laser's safety override code, and cyberspace. Alright, time to talk about cyberspace. I mean, does this look good to play? Cyberspace is easily my least favorite part of the game. It's basically a spaceflight sim with okay enough controls, but discombobulating gameplay. There's no real indication of what your goal is, just arrows pointing you through chutes. The wireframe rooms often overlap with other rooms outside, screwing with your depth perception. The individual cells of the rooms flash in intervals because they're actually playing the game of life. Kinda neat, but it creates a lot of visual noise I find disorienting. Feedback in general is a problem here. The actual objective of every cyberspace section is usually to unlock something, but unlike in real space where you're finding keys or passcodes, everything here, from the power-ups to the locks, are represented with abstract shapes. Interacting with them is as simple as brushing against one, but doing so might only trigger a small animation and a message you'll probably miss because you're busy playing a flight sim. There's combat here, but the lack of sound effects means there's no indication of when you hit something. It all feels really light and disjointed. Conceptually, it's pretty cool, but the technology of the time just wasn't there to capture what I think they wanted it to look like. That doesn't stop some people from enjoying these sections. I happen to know one such freak.
Especially given for the time and like what you're dealing with in meat space, which is just what I call like the real world, right? Like, you know, you're in the real world on that space station. And then going into cyberspace, it just feels like such like a, I don't know, almost like an out of body experience, because it kind of literally is. The free range of motion you get, you kind of just feel like you're swimming around like in the internet, I guess, or like a network. And it's still so elegant and kind of timeless, even just with wireframe, like visually. Like, what a great attempt. Like, what a fucking crazy ass, like, it seemed like beyond them, but they were just like, fuck it. We're going to try it, and we're going to see how good it, like, you know, we tried our best. It went from, we didn't know what that would have been like in a video game, to here's what it could be. Like, here it is, guys. Here's the ambitious, like, toss. Like, here's the ball, right? We're going to kick it into that court. I don't know if any of that makes sense.
Once you're done sweeping through research, you can go challenge Gamma Quadrant. There's nothing stopping you from heading straight there, but, like, why not? Exploring's fun. Gamma has most of the important stuff, like the CPU nodes for this level. It also has a room to control the robot production facility. As long as it's on, the robot enemies on this floor will continuously respawn. How do you turn it off? A key code. Where's the key code? This random slip of paper. I'm pretty sure this is the only time in the game a code isn't in a log or on a screen, and it's a minor gripe of mine. The player's eye gets accustomed to glazing over what looks like decorative items, so putting an important clue in one is annoying.
Robot production cancelled.
Also, the paper can be destroyed and you'll just have to guess the code. On to maintenance. The first thing you'll notice is how thick the atmosphere is. Everything's dark, the lights are flickering, there's no music, just the hum of the station, like the breathing of a beast. It's classic horror stuff. The absence of something is like a black hole. It just pulls your attention to itself. It puts the mind on edge, thinking of what could be lurking around the corner. In this case, what's lurking is these fuckers! This is the only level the invisible mutants appear on, and they are from hell. Partially transparent and very low to the ground, these things certainly earn their name. They're not fodder either. They shoot big, fast projectiles and have a lot of health, especially for this early in the game. Even when I pick up the headlamp augment, they still sneak up on me. Yeah, die, bitch. Now what's in this log?
It'll be over soon. Soon I'll die. This pain will end. I can't even recognize my own damn arm. Shodan's virus. I can see. Oh God, I can see through my own body. And there's another virus in the grove. God, let me die. Please.
Oh my God, that was him. I just killed him. Or put him out of his misery. I want to stress that this was 1994 and first-person games looked like this. Again, no one else was this committed to environmental storytelling, to give some random enemy a backstory, to say, you're responsible for this, and now you have to put him down. When I say maintenance as a change of pace, I don't just mean tonally. This is the first level you get to where it's clear you can't finish it at this point. Sure, there was the laser thing in research that we need to come back to, but maintenance has a bunch of important looking doors locked and you have no idea what to do. The level's pretty small and there's an elevator in one of the center rooms. You can just move on, but you shouldn't, because the real objective of your first visit to maintenance is to pick up 2 weapons. First, the demigod, the Magnum. Yes, I know there's technically a Magnum hidden away on medical, but that's a lot harder to find. The Magnum is a high damage, fast firing gun that blows most enemies in the game apart in only a few shots. Ammo for it early on is sparse, but that doesn't really matter much because you're not using a lot anyway. But also because of the god weapon, the laser rapier. This is the only other melee weapon in the game, and it is an absurd upgrade from the pipe. It does so much goddamn damage. You can shred through almost every enemy in 1 or 2 swings. The downside is that it costs energy to use, but as we established, energy is not hard to come by. Remember those bitch-ass invisible mutants that took 100 shots to kill? Rapier? I hardly know her. Maybe not that one. Let's move on to storage. Storage isn't too memorable to me. It's a very standard level by this point. You're used to it. The most identifiable thing about it is the way it's structured. Where the previous floors were maze-like complexes with tons of little sections, storage is basically a couple of snaking hallways that split off into large, storage spaces. It's much more segmented. Each one is like a big challenge room. One's a gravity puzzle, another's combat over a big pit crawling with enemies. It does have one of my favorite moments in the whole game. You see this big ramp that's obviously here for you to launch off and get to some goodies across a drop. By this point, you've picked up the turbo motion boosters, which are a fast button. I generally don't like them. It kind of feels like ice skates in this game's physics, but here they might have a use. Sure enough, you get more than enough speed to clear the jump.
Nice jump.
Of course. It was so obvious because it was a trap. What kind of storage room in a scientific research station would have a Tony Hawk half-pipe sitting across a bunch of epic loot? What is this, Mario? The storage jump is one of those things that solidifies Shodan as a villain to me. She doesn't just hate you, she wants to fuck with you. She is literally sitting in her computer world concocting evil schemes to prank you into walking into a death trap. When I first played this in high school, I wished most women liked me half as much. The grenades in this game are a good idea as something to have in the player's toolkit. It's just the physics and hit detection that let it down. All I want to do is drop an EMP down this shaft, and I cannot. There's also a few too many varieties, in my opinion. I mostly use the frags and EMPs, sometimes the mines. The concussion and gas grenades are only effective against organics. Organics are also weak to bullets, and if I had to pick between lighting up some mutants with the Magnum or dealing with the grenade hit detection, I think you know what I'm gonna do. This is actually one of the main areas the remake fixes just by virtue of being a modern video game. The key item here is a big pile of plastique explosives for later. We'll come back to this, but it's good to make a mental note of them. I'll say it again, I like that this game isn't afraid to be mean. Technically, we could have gone straight here from maintenance. You can do a lot of things in any order you like, actually, but I prefer doing them sequentially because it feels right. If maintenance was creepy, flight deck is hectic. There's lights flickering, the music is going crazy. You get a message at the start from Anna, the leader of the survivors, who tells you where to find them. Finally, some other living people, some allies. You battle robots through industrial hallways and anti-gravity shafts, getting closer and closer, and then...
I'm afraid it's too late to save your friends.
You're seconds too late. They're all dead. Throughout the game, every corpse you've seen has probably been there for weeks, if not months. It's grisly and stomach-churning, but there's something really affecting about seeing the body of someone you just heard on the radio. A lot of people write this game off based on the visuals and age alone, but once you've invested yourself into it and made it all the way to this point, this moment is shocking. You don't have to be told that this is the pivotal scene where the main character is crushed at the tragedy and then emboldened to stop the villain. You just kind of feel it. The hectic energy of running and gunning through the halls is now manic. There's a personal stake that's greater than before, and then you step out into one of the hangar bays, and everything just quiets down. It's one of the biggest music shifts in the game. The hangars are rumbling, eerie. The emptiness creates this feeling like something could be lurking. It's creepy, but it's also lonely. There's a kind of awe looking out at the stars, the ultimate emptiness.
These crates give us good position, but I don't see a way to break through the light pods. That's an in-ramp. See if you can get down to where it says Flight Bay 2. Uh-oh.
The emotions this game drums up for me are not matched by the voice actors. Look, I know none of them were professionals, but it's honestly a miracle Shodan came out as great as she did. Of note here is the Office Suite section of Level 5. It's a taste of what's to come on the next floor, but we have to hold off on that for now, because Level 6 is inaccessible. Shodan is diverting a bunch of the station's power, including the elevators, to Level R, Reactor. I don't usually do Level R until I have to, mainly because the place is swarming with hoppers and I'd rather be kitted up with mag pulse ammo. There is a reward for coming here early in the form of a pretty strong gun, the Fletchette, in this weird anti-gravity room. We come back here a few times, but our main goal right now is part of that thing we've been putting off. That's right, the laser. The plan is to power on the station's shields and then fire the laser into them, causing a backblow that'll destroy it. Reactor is where you flip the laser's safety and turn on the shields. I didn't realize this because it's not a System Shock playthrough if you actually remember everything you need to do, so I spent close to an hour just wandering around, exploring. Reactor is the most industrial of the levels to me. These are the bowels of the station, and it shows in the color palette. Even the layout communicates that it's built for efficiency, a ring shape around a central core with areas splitting off for various functions. This is where you're introduced to the other little bastards of this game, the Roombas. They're just suicide bombers, and they're pretty fast at that. Using the code from Research, you override the laser's safety. Now you have to power up the shield using the X-22 isotope from Research.
Radiation shields activated.
Now go back up to level 2, into the central chamber. Aw, Jesus. Okay, now that that's done, punch the laser button and watch it blow itself to smithereens. So we're all cool now, right? Of course not. Why would it ever be so easy?
I see there's still an insect loose in my station. Do not be fooled into thinking that you have preserved your home planet. I am perfecting a mutagen virus in one of the groves that will turn all earthly life into festering, gibbering, or pustulant mutations.
Shodan has a backup plan. The mutagen virus you've been seeing the effects of the whole game? She's growing and developing it on the 6th floor, and she's gonna let it loose on Earth. Time to get going to Executive. Executive is my favorite level in the whole game. I love the change in aesthetic. This whole time you've been slumming it out in the dank industrial corridors, maintenance shafts, cubicles, and storage lockers of the station. Now you get to see what the top brass live like. You go from steel floors and rubber walls to embroidered carpets and black marble side panels. It's fancier, meant to feel more comfortable. They even have their own robot security, which has, of course, gone rogue. Oh hey, did I mention you can pick up games in cyberspace? And play them on your HUD? Yeah, fuck Candy Crush. Level 6 isn't just the executive area, it also splits off into 3 distinct locations, the groves, and this is where the virus is being tested. You need to jettison the groves from the station, but doing so is easier said than done, obviously. When I say executive is my favorite level, these areas are a big part of that. They're the coolest part of the game, in my opinion. The groves are the facsimiles of nature available exclusively to the corporate execs, and they are a complete departure from the rest of the game. It's meant to be a place to relax, to emulate the outdoors back on Earth, but there's this uncanny plastic quality to it. Something just feels off. The stone walls are just a prop over mechanical guts. The wildlife sounds are being piped in through speakers. All the enemies here are freakish mutations of plants and animals, things that shouldn't exist. There are fluorescent lights in the ceiling. It's the one part of the station that is lying to you, and that, combined with one of the most atmospheric tracks in the game, lends a sense of wrongness to the whole thing. It puts me in this alert mood. I'm always listening for the sound of a gore tiger's growl or a plant monster's projectile. There are 4 groves. The execs tried to use one as an escape pod, but of course, Shodan disabled the life support on it right before they blasted off. Your job now is to head into the 3 remaining and hit their jettison enable switch. It's worth exploring, as you can find some supplies and even the strongest energy gun. I save Beta Grove for last, because it's basically hell on Earth. Or space. It's completely saturated with biohazard and will riddle you with contamination after just a few seconds. Be sure to stock up on detox and med patches, especially if you're unfamiliar with the area. If you are familiar with the area, don't sweat it. Want to know how to become a pro System Shocker like me?
Engage!
Safety interlocks disabled.
Yep, that's it. It's right there. In, out, like 15 seconds at most.
Cool.
Still not done, as we have to hit the Master Jettison Enable, which is in the office of none other than Edward Diego. It's quite the trek to his office. Even getting in the general vicinity is a Sphinx riddle. You come to this door locked with a keypad, and what's the code? Is it in a log? No. Is it on a random piece of paper? No. Well, where could it be? So originally there was a small rant here about how it was so cryptic that you had to read this log really carefully about how there's codes being displayed on the screens outside the elevator, and then I reread the log and I realized that the first time I played this game, I was actually just stupid and didn't pay close enough attention. So that's on me. I think I reference it later in the script, so that's what I'm talking about. The crawl itself is long, and there's a lot of build-up. When you finally arrive, the office is packed with security. With them trashed, you can now face the man himself. That's right, the one person behind all of this, whose greed has led to the deaths of hundreds of people and an existential threat to the entire human race. Edward Diego, powered up in his ultimate cyborg form. Oh wait, let me pop a Burke. Damn. Just like that?
Hey Shodan, take a letter. Dear Triumph, please send some more people to investigate me. I run security, I run the robots, I'm jamming communications. That's right, Rebecca, investigate me. Investigate my butt. Shodan, I have seen the wisdom and beneficence in your actions. You do not mean to cause us harm, no, but rather to bring us to greater glory by serving a being as perfect as yourself. Please allow me to demonstrate my loyalty by giving you the human scum who undermine your reign. They are hiding in the Northeast Banquet Hall. All I ask in return is a measure of protection and the privilege of spreading your message further.
I like characterizing Diego as a slimy corporate climber who acts all cocky but grovels at Shodan's feet when he realizes what he's done, only to be turned into a cyborg with barely any of his humanity left. I should note that Executive is where you learn the only reason Diego did any of this was because he was running an illegal smuggling ring and was trying to cover it up by removing Shodan's ethical constraints. Yeah, it really worked out well for him. Now, at long last, you can hit the Master Jettison... Oh, god damn it, what is it this time? You can't enable it because of a faulty relay. Now haul your ass down to maintenance and fix it. Now that there's something that needs fixing, those doors in maintenance are open, and all 4 of them are tiny mazes of monitoring systems and stuff like that. You need to grab a fresh relay from elsewhere in the level and swap it out with the broken one. The game tells you to go to the relay analyzer to find out which one it is, but I forgot about that and just brute forced it. It's 428.
Modulator replacement successful.
With that, you can finally go all the way back up to Executive and get rid of these god-forsaken groves.
Insect, cease your meddling. My experiment must continue.
Jetson.
And with that, Shodan's plan is foil. Oh, what now? Okay, so she has a backup plan to upload herself into Earth's computer network. And to stop her, we need to destroy the station's comm antennas. That means we're going to... engineering. Ha! Knew you were there. And you. Huh? What? Oh, god damn it. Engineering is a foxhole and an Iron Man. I don't know the exact measurements, but it has to be twice the size of the average level in this game. It is a massive, sprawling maze, a gauntlet designed to test your mettle against never-ending death. It never lets up. Corridors, branching paths, multiple levels, nooks and crannies, and just tons and tons of high-level enemies. You feel like you've traversed 60% of the level, then you check the map and you're a quarter in. The designers weren't afraid to get dickish here. You dog. The antennas are at the 4 cardinal points of the level, and you need to blow them up with the plastiques from storage. By this point, you should be using the more powerful weapons like the Scorpion. Oh, shit! Fucking Roomba! Oh, thank God, an armory. There's some good supplies in here too. I don't mean to harp on it, it's just that engineering is so big that if I talked about every little moment or section, it'd take like 20 minutes. It is this game's surface tension. Are you kidding me? There's supposed to be a healing bed here, one of 3 in the game, mind you, and this security bot walked into one of the mines planted next to it and destroyed it at some point. At least there's a respawn room. What's funny is that I'm pretty sure the restoration bays were implemented to keep players from relying too much on backtracking to the healing beds. It's still a form of healing, it's just not a full heal, and you need to die first. One more antenna, and this totally not suspicious puzzle panel on the wall. Yeah, just logic probe this one.
Hacker, stay a while.
Okay, Shodan is finally foiled. She can't blow up the Earth with a laser, she can't infect it with her virus, she can't upload herself to its computers, we're good- Oh, what now? So Shodan has a backup plan to just fly the station across space and into the Earth directly. At this point, it's too much trouble, we're the only survivor anyway, let's just blow this fucking thing up once and for all. We're gonna overload the reactor core.
Ooh, feisty little thing.
Before we step directly into a nuclear reactor, it's probably a good idea to upgrade our environment suit. There's a door down on maintenance to Abe Guerin's office that's only accessible via retinal scan. How do you get in? Well, with his head, obviously. Now the only problem is, where's his head? It's this one, laying on the ground in a random corner on maintenance. Yeah. It's the paper slip on research all over again. There are so many severed heads on board Citadel Station that the player sees this one and doesn't even register that it's unique. You've been desensitized to them. You're not paying attention because the game has implicitly told you it's not important. Anyway, grab the EV2 suit and head down to reactor. Now, in order to overload the core, you'll need 2 different 3-digit codes. Where do you find them? Hey, remember that small rant from before? So, every level has a bank of CPU nodes, and the first 6 levels have a screen in the CPU room that blinks through random numbers. When you destroy the nodes, the screen displays one single number, and if you combine all 6 of these in order, you get the codes for the reactor core. How the fuck am I supposed to figure that out? There are 2 logs in the game that reference this. The first is like 4 hours ago on storage from a guy saying that Shodan is displaying random numbers over the system authorization code, whatever that means. The other is from Shodan in Guerin's office, where she hints that the CPUs have something to do with an authorization code again. Looking Glass wants you to take the world of System Shock seriously, for better and for worse. I'd argue that they overcommit to the idea at points, and this is the biggest one. It's way too cryptic for even someone who's paying a good amount of attention. Okay, sorry for having a meltdown there. Actually, speaking of...
Destruct security reactor destruct countdown started.
There's some escape pods on flight deck we need to reach. Shodan is really mad now, and the way up to level 5 is a slaughterhouse filled with high-level enemies. I love the rumbling effect and the alarms blaring on each level now. While we're heading there, I haven't mentioned the dermal patches in much detail yet. They're just basic consumables, and I find myself not using all of them. Some restore health, there's sight enhancement, which you stop using as soon as you get the headlamp. The Genius patch just makes puzzles easier for a bit. Stamina Up gives you infinite stamina for a bit, and Berserk, well, we're familiar with that one. By the way, fun fact, Berserks were originally called Craze, and they only gave you the trippy color effect. Apparently, the German distributors of the game objected to the inclusion of hallucinogenic drugs, so Looking Glass added the strength boost and renamed it. Oh, hey Diego. Did he get a haircut? I missed that. Let's sit back and watch the pretty colors before escaping off this heap.
Live pod launch initiated.
Oh, what now? So Shodan's back. How many are we on now? She's gonna detach the bridge from the rest of the station and leave you to die in the explosion. Not playing around. For realsies, we're gonna finish it. We're gonna go up there and we're gonna kill her bitch ass from cyberspace. On to the penultimate level, security.
All unnecessary personnel, clear the level.
First rule of security, look up. This might beat out maintenance for smallest level, but it's pretty memorable. It's the most vertical, being one large chamber. The whole thing is based around getting to the elevator at the top of the central tower. To do that, you need to work your way through the surrounding areas built into the walls of the chamber. It's also the most linear level. You're pretty much doing things in a specific order, dropping the security level to access the next part as you go. If this was another sprawling floor, it probably would have killed the pacing. Here, it's just go, 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 tear through it. There's enemies placed all around from little lookup spots. Once you get sniped a few times, you learn to stay on your guard. There's a real sense of tension here, and climbing higher and higher, getting vantage points on them, is pretty satisfying. Security is basically the police station of Citadel, with some offices, weapon stores, an interrogation room, and prisons. It's also littered with first aid kits. They are everywhere here. Helpful for a first-time player, but it does feel pretty excessive. You'll want to pick up the Envirosuit V3, it'll come in handy in a bit. There's also an audio log from Diego with a slur for non-cyborgs. I like this room of recharging Security 2 bots. You can't get to the next room without turning them on, so you can cheese it by killing a few of them while they're asleep. Plant some mines in front of the others for them to walk into when they wake up. It's cool. For some reason, Shodan is keeping mutants in the station's prison, or maybe the implication is that she's used the prisoners as experiments. There's an unused audio log that would have tied into the prison about a drug trafficking ring inside the station. This is back when Berserks were still just craze, and it suggests that there was going to be some sort of plotline in the logs to explain why there are so many sci-fi steroids laying around in a space station orbiting Saturn. At the top of security is a radioactive chamber with a speed up the to get to the elevator to whoa! This room is completely warped and strange looking. We'll take a closer look later, but for now, thank the Germans, Diego.
Turn around and face me.
Entered my domain. Rebecca and Morris cannot help you here. No one can.
Just as you reach the bridge, it disconnects from the station. This is the point of no return. No more backtracking to medical or recharging and maintenance. It's gone and currently exploding in a nuclear meltdown. Just you and Shodan. I love the look of this final level. It's like Shodan's virus has a technological quality to it now. The walls and very circuitry of the bridge have become mutated and organic. There's these Giger-esque animal structures that breathe. Putting them under the light reveals veins pulsing with blood. Shodan is no longer just a program. She's changed. She's becoming a new kind of life itself. The bridge is a pretty focused level. The final room to Shodan's terminal is sealed and can only be opened via a room blocked by 3 laser walls. There are 3 challenge rooms with puzzles to disable the walls. You'll also need to grab the isolinear chipset, which Bianca Schuler was carrying on her when she was captured in engineering and taken to the bridge. You can find it with her remains in a cage. Ugh. The first challenge area I did also happens to be the 4th circle of hell. The Roomba Maze. They are the only enemies and they spawn infinitely. Fuck this part. You need to get to the end and complete a trial and error wire puzzle and hope they aren't fast enough to jihad you to death. Then you need to escape while they're spawning into you. Fuck this part. Next up is another maze. This one's not nearly as bad, just a bunch of security 2 bots you can rush down with the rapier. There's a wire puzzle somewhere in here. The third challenge room is more combat focused. You need to press a series of buttons to open the central column, but doing so also opens some monster closets. Then you do, what else? A wire puzzle.
Force door 1 to computer room open.
Get to the security terminal, plug in the chipset, and now Shodan's chamber is revealed. Be sure to suit up and pop a detox before heading in because the whole room is massively radioactive. I also decided to use a reflex stim for the first time because why not? It's another patch that basically slows down the game speed like you're running it on a toaster to simulate slow motion. It's a neat idea, but not very useful, which is something a lot of little items in this game run into, unfortunately. And now, the final cyberspace. It's weird and different from the rest of the game. Instead of a linear series of rooms you shoot through, there's these larger clusters of rooms that you can go between freely to pick up upgrades and health. It's all the confusion of cyberspace, but with more added on, because now there isn't even a big arrow telling you where to go specifically, just around. I spent like 2 minutes in this one room because the arrow told me to go here, and the only way out is over this wall that's really hard to see if you don't know it's there. Yeah, this whole section is a lot of stabbing around in the dark. I like how it looks so different from the other cyberspace areas, though. The geometry reminds me of chapel architecture, which is fitting for the lair of an AI with a god complex. At the end of a long shoot, you find Shodan, who's a little cyber squid. I kinda like that she's represented as a face this whole game, and then in her true form, she's this deep-sea creature swimming in cyberspace. As you fight in her lair, your vision slowly starts corrupting, filling with the image of her face, pixel by pixel. I imagine this is how she brainwashes the cyborgs, which is neat. Unfortunately, she's a pushover and can be defeated in about 20 seconds. Hey, that room's still irradiated, get out of there! In the end, despite getting a handsome job offer from Trioptimum for your troubles, you're back on your bullshit again. This time hacking Tetra Corp. Very creative. Old habits indeed die hard. Kind of a flaccid final boss, but what a game, huh? System Shock didn't sell very well at the time, for a variety of reasons. The publisher pushed out an inferior floppy disk version of the game a few months ahead of the CD release. The floppy copy had inferior graphics and sound, but most importantly, was missing voice acting. That's pretty huge in a game with a villain as standout as Shodan. It wasn't a great foot to get off on, and it was pretty demanding to run in the first place. It also suffered in part because it was hard to market. System Shock feels like it was designed backwards. minutes, and that's because it was. The game was spun out of a 4-part collaboration at Looking Glass. Doug Church, Warren Spector, Austin Grossman, and Paul Neurath. After releasing several spin-offs in the Ultima series, they decided that their next game would be a radical departure, and settled on a sci-fi setting. Unlike most games, they didn't start from a genre or core gameplay loop. They would write what they called gameplay minutes. For instance, you hear the sound of a security camera swiveling, and then the beep of it acquiring you as a target. So you duck behind the crate, and then you hear the door open, so you throw a grenade and run out of the way. When I say it was designed backwards, this is what I mean. They figured out what kind of things they wanted to be able to happen, and then created a game that let them do it. This is why System Shock felt so fresh, even today, and is often considered the progenitor of immersive sims, because it's based on the same design philosophy that would carry into Deus Ex. It's totally unique. That's both its biggest strength and challenge. It was almost cancelled several times during development because the team could never figure out how to explain it to the publisher. That's been a sort of curse on this game. It's hard to show someone what's so great about it at first glance. I've even seen it used as a punchline, as if showing 5 seconds of gameplay is enough of a joke. And it pisses me off. That's why I made this video. If you're curious about System Shock and willing to put up with old game jank and some obtuseness, I'd say check out the Enhanced Edition by Night Dive Studios. It has a lot of quality of life features and, in my opinion, is the definitive way to play. The remake, also by Night Dive, is also fantastic. It's a great modernization of the original. It expands some areas of the game and does a lot to streamline certain aspects. I touched on it briefly, but System Shock has a little bit of bloat when it comes to things like grenades and augments. There are some that I literally never use, and the remake does a good job combining or reworking them. Also, some of the more egregiously cryptic bits are better.
Whatever version catches your eye, you can't go wrong. I'm the world's biggest System Shock shill, and I'm really thrilled to see its profile rising in recent years. There are few games that have gotten under my skin in the way that it has. Have its successors improved its formula? Yes, but the first step in the sand sinks deep. I could have made this video much longer. I could have gone in depth about all the augments and the storylines and the logs and the development history, but I think I'll cut it here. For one, because we're getting a little long in the tooth, and two, I'm not really sure it would help. Sometimes I feel inadequate as a writer because I run into things or experiences that I struggle to put into words. Language is a way of capturing the world and pushing it through a tube, but some things are better left free range. I can't fully encapsulate why I love System Shock so much. I can only tell you that you should play it for yourself, because you just gotta feel it. Check out my podcast, and thank you to my patrons who keep this channel free. Bye.
Here comes a daredevil! Game over!